Japan, land of the rising sun, bullet trains, and cherry blossoms. From the neon-drenched streets of Tokyo to the ancient temples of Kyoto, a palpable sense of shared identity permeates the air. But what happens when this image of a monocultural utopia clashes with the realities of a globalized world? What about the individuals who don't fit neatly into this carefully curated picture of Japaneseness? Join me as we pull back the curtain, venturing beyond the tourist traps and sushi conveyor belts to explore the intricate tapestry of race and identity in the land of the rising sun. To understand Japan's complex relationship with race, we must journey back in time. This period, known as Sakoku, or closed country, lasted for over 2 centuries, from the early 1600s to the mid-1800s. During this time, Japan turned inward, choosing to preserve its cultural purity by severing ties with the outside world. The question that lingers is whether this deeply ingrained sense of cultural preservation, born from centuries of isolation, can coexist with the realities of a globalized society. The ghosts of Sakoku still linger in the air, a silent echo of a time when Japan existed in a world of its own making. It's a legacy that manifests in subtle ways, in the meticulous orderliness of their streets, the deep reverence for tradition, and a certain unspoken understanding that permeates their social interactions. These are the questions that linger as we navigate the complex landscape of race and identity in Japan. Language is the lifeblood of culture, the vessel through which we express our thoughts, beliefs, and values. From the formal keigo used with superiors to the casual language shared among friends, Japanese is a language steeped in nuance and subtle social cues. Mastering the intricacies of Japanese grammar is one thing, but navigating the labyrinthine rules of etiquette and politeness is another challenge altogether. For foreigners, this linguistic dance can be exhausting. It's like trying to decipher a secret code, always aware that you're one misstep away from committing a social faux pas. In Japan, the word gaijin hangs in the air, a constant reminder of the line drawn between us and them. On the surface, gaijin simply means outsider, a neutral descriptor for anyone who isn't Japanese. But beneath the surface lies a deeper meaning, a subtle acknowledgement that no matter how long you live in Japan, how fluently you speak the language, or how deeply you immerse yourself in the culture, you'll always be viewed, at least to some degree, as an outsider. This gaijin complex permeates Japanese society, influencing everything from everyday interactions to job opportunities to social circles. Imagine a hall of mirrors, each reflecting a slightly distorted image of yourself. This is what it can feel like to be a foreigner in Japan, constantly confronted with reflections of your own otherness. It's in the curious stares, the hesitant interactions, and the unspoken assumptions that you'll never truly understand their ways. It's a journey of self-discovery, a crash course in cultural humility. Japan's brand of exclusion isn't always loud. It's often quiet, subtle, hidden in plain sight. It's in the rental agreement stating "no foreigners," whispered behind cupped hands, or politely declined job applications. I remember searching for an apartment in Tokyo, armed with my broken Japanese and a map of the city. Frustration mounted as I realized that my foreign face was a barrier, an unspoken deal-breaker. This US versus them mentality seeps into various facets of life in Japan, from the workplace to social circles. The Japanese workplace, with its rigid hierarchy and emphasis on conformity, can be a challenging environment, even for native Japanese. Now imagine navigating this world as a foreigner, armed with a different cultural script, struggling to decipher the unspoken rules of the game. Foreign employees are often expected to assimilate completely, to shed their cultural quirks and embrace the Japanese way of doing things. This can be a rewarding experience, a chance to immerse oneself in a new culture. But it can also be stifling, leading to a sense of losing oneself in the process. Love, they say, knows no boundaries. But in Japan, as in many parts of the world, the path of interracial love is rarely smooth. For foreigners in love with Japanese partners, the challenges can be particularly acute. There's the language barrier, the cultural differences, and the inevitable clash of traditions. Traditional values and family ties run deep in Japan. Marrying someone outside one's culture is often seen as a threat to family harmony, a disruption of the social order. Growing up Hafu in Japan is like walking a tightrope between two worlds. You're constantly straddling the line between two cultures, two languages, two sets of expectations. Hafu children often possess a heightened awareness of their own otherness. They're constantly reminded of their dual heritage, whether it's through curious stares, questions about their ethnicity, or the feeling of not quite belonging in either world. School can be a particularly challenging environment. Hafu children may face bullying, discrimination, or simply a lack of understanding from peers and teachers alike. A quiet revolution is brewing in Japan. A new generation is questioning the status quo, challenging the traditional notions of race and identity. They're demanding a more inclusive society, one that embraces diversity in all its forms. Social media has become a powerful tool for change, providing a platform for marginalized voices to be heard. Hashtags like #BlackLivesMatterJapan and #StopAsianHate have resonated with Japanese audiences, sparking conversations about race and discrimination that were once taboo. There's a growing recognition that Japan's future prosperity depends on its ability to embrace diversity and inclusion. Music. It's the universal language, the soundtrack to our lives. In Japan, it's also a powerful instrument of cultural preservation, a way to connect with the ghosts of their ancestors and reinforce a sense of shared identity. Traditional Japanese music isn't just about entertainment, it's a living testament to their history, their values, and their enduring spirit. The Japanese are meticulous in their preservation of these ancient art forms. Generations of masters pass down their knowledge to eager students, ensuring that these musical traditions remain vibrant and alive. Taiko drum beats, a symphony of unity. The sound of taiko drums is impossible to ignore. It's a visceral experience, a primal rhythm that reverberates through your bones and stirs something deep within your soul. In Japan, taiko drumming is more than just music. It's a way of life, a powerful expression of community, discipline, and cultural pride. Imagine a group of drummers, clad in black, their faces contorted with effort as they pound the massive taiko drums with thunderous precision. The air crackles with energy, the ground vibrates beneath your feet, and a sense of unity washes over the crowd. It's a spectacle that's both awe-inspiring and deeply moving. Taiko drumming is often featured in festivals and ceremonies, its thunderous beats marking important occasions and bringing communities together. It's a way to celebrate their shared heritage, to strengthen the bonds that unite them. The rhythmic pounding of the drums is like a heartbeat, a reminder of their collective identity. Years ago, I had the opportunity to learn the basics of taiko drumming from a master drummer in Tokyo. It was a humbling experience, requiring immense focus, coordination, and stamina. But beyond the physical challenges, I felt a sense of camaraderie with my fellow drummers, a shared sense of purpose that transcended our cultural differences. The geisha's song, grace, artistry, and exclusion. The world of the geisha is shrouded in mystery and allure. These highly skilled entertainers are the embodiment of traditional Japanese arts, trained in music, dance, tea ceremony, and the art of conversation. They are living works of art, their every movement imbued with grace and elegance. But behind the beauty and artistry lies a world that is both exclusive and demanding. Becoming a geisha requires years of rigorous training, a complete immersion in a world that is steeped in tradition and bound by strict codes of conduct. It's a path that few can follow, a world that remains largely closed off to outsiders. This exclusivity can contribute to a perception of us versus them, reinforcing the idea that some aspects of Japanese culture are inaccessible to foreigners. The geisha, with their enigmatic smiles and carefully guarded traditions, can seem like relics from a bygone era. a world apart from the modern, globalized Japan. I once had the opportunity to converse with a geisha in Kyoto, a rare glimpse into this hidden world. She spoke with quiet dignity about the sacrifices she had made, the discipline required to master her art, and the pride she felt in preserving a centuries-old tradition. It was a reminder that even in modern Japan, some traditions remain fiercely guarded, their secrets shared only with a select few. Gagaku court music and the imperial court. Gagaku, ancient court music of Japan, is a symphony of serenity and grandeur. Its origins can be traced back over 1,000 years to the imperial court of ancient Japan. This majestic music, with its slow tempos and ethereal melodies, was once the exclusive domain of the nobility, performed for emperors and courtiers in opulent palaces. Listening to Gagaku is like stepping back in time. The music, performed on ancient instruments like the sho, a mouth organ, the hichiriki, a double reed pipe, and the biwa, a lute, evokes a sense of tranquility and reverence. It's a sound that has remained largely unchanged for centuries, a testament to the enduring power of tradition. Gagaku is still performed today, primarily at state ceremonies and special occasions. It remains a highly respected art form, a symbol of Japan's rich cultural heritage. However, its ties to the imperial court and its elite history can also make it seem somewhat distant and inaccessible to the average person. I attended a Gagaku performance at a temple in Nara, the ancient capital of Japan. The atmosphere was one of hushed reverence as the musicians dressed in elaborate silk robes took their places on the stage. The music, both haunting and beautiful, seemed to hang in the air, transporting the audience to a time of emperors and shoguns. Between the notes, tradition, inclusion, and the future of music. As Japan grapples with its identity in a globalized world, its musical landscape is also evolving. The lines between tradition and modernity are blurring, as a new generation of musicians embraces both their cultural heritage and the sounds of the wider world. There's a growing movement to make traditional Japanese music more accessible to younger generations and to international audiences. Musicians are experimenting with new sounds, blending traditional instruments with modern genres like jazz, rock, and electronic music. This fusion of styles is creating a vibrant and dynamic musical scene, one that reflects the changing face of Japan. It's a testament to the enduring power of tradition, but also to the creativity and openness of a new generation. I recently attended a concert in Tokyo that perfectly captured this spirit of fusion. The musicians, a mix of Japanese and foreign artists, seamlessly blended traditional Japanese instruments like the shakuhachi and the koto with electric guitars, drums, and synthesizers. The result was a sound that was both familiar and exhilarating, a testament to the power of music to transcend cultural boundaries. Island mentality, Japan versus the world. Japan, an archipelago nation, often finds itself likened to other island nations like Iceland, Ireland, and New Zealand. Island nations develop a distinct sense of identity, shaped by their isolation and dependence on the sea. There's a certain resilience that comes from being surrounded by water, a fierce pride in their heritage. The sea, once a barrier, is now a bridge, bringing the world to their doorstep, challenging their traditions. These island nations offer a glimpse into the diverse ways cultures navigate globalization. The Kimchi Curtain, Korea's parallel universe. Looking across the Sea of Japan, one finds a nation that shares a complex and often contentious history with Japan's South Korea. Both nations, with their ancient cultures, their Confucian values, and their tumultuous past, are often mentioned in the same breath. Yet, beneath the surface similarities lie profound differences, particularly in their approaches to race, identity, and their place in the world. South Korea, like Japan, has a long history of homogeneity. However, in recent decades, it has experienced a rapid influx of foreign workers and a surge in interracial marriages. This demographic shift has presented challenges, exposing underlying prejudices and sparking debates about national identity. The Kimchi Curtain, a term often used to describe Korea's perceived insularity, is slowly lifting, but the process is not without its growing pains. During my travels through Korea, I was struck by the warmth and hospitality of the people. They were eager to share their culture, their food, and their stories. However, I also sensed an undercurrent of anxiety about the changing face of their nation, a fear that their cultural identity might be diluted by outside influences. Both Japan and Korea, products of their unique histories and geographies, are being reshaped by the forces of globalization. How they choose to navigate this new world order, balancing tradition with inclusivity, will ultimately determine their place in the 21st century. Section 3. The Melting Pot versus the Mosaic: America's Diversity Dilemma. The U.S., a nation built on immigration, is a self-proclaimed melting pot of cultures. America's approach to diversity contrasts with Japan's homogeneity. The U.S. history of slavery and segregation shows that diversity without inclusion leads to conflict. The melting pot ideal has both unified and marginalized. Despite its flaws, the U.S. remains a beacon of hope and opportunity. Its social movements show the power of collective action for a just society. Japan can learn from America's experience that diversity is a strength. Section 4. Beyond Borders: A World Grappling with Identity. The challenges facing Japan are not unique. Around the world, nations are grappling with issues of identity, diversity, and belonging. The rise of globalization, the ease of travel and communication, and the increasing interconnectedness of our world have led to both unprecedented opportunities and unforeseen challenges. In Europe, the influx of refugees fleeing war and poverty has sparked debates about immigration, integration, and the very definition of European identity. In Asia, rapidly developing economies are grappling with the social and cultural implications of globalization, as traditional values clash with modern lifestyles. And in the Americas, indigenous populations continue to fight for their rights and the preservation of their cultures in the face of assimilationist policies. The world is at a crossroads. We can choose to build walls, to retreat into our own cultural enclaves, fueled by fear and suspicion. Or we can choose to build bridges, to embrace the richness of our diversity, and to work together to create a more just and equitable world for all. The path forward is not always clear, but one thing is certain: our shared humanity transcends borders, languages, and cultural differences. By fostering dialogue, understanding, and empathy, we can create a world where everyone feels a sense of belonging, regardless of their race, ethnicity, or cultural background. Section 1. Harmony in the Discord: Navigating the Future. The journey through Japan's complex relationship with race and identity is like navigating a traditional rock garden. Moments of serene beauty punctuated by sharp edges and seemingly insurmountable obstacles. The path is rarely straight, often winding through unspoken rules, cultural nuances, and a deep-rooted desire to preserve a unique heritage. But amidst the complexities, a simple truth emerges. Japan, like the rest of the world, is grappling with the challenges of balancing tradition with inclusivity in a rapidly changing world. It's a delicate dance, this reconciliation of the old and the new. It requires a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, to challenge long-held assumptions, and to embrace the richness that diversity brings. Education is key, fostering understanding and empathy between those who see themselves as guardians of tradition and those who represent the winds of change. Open dialogue, even when uncomfortable, is crucial to breaking down walls of prejudice and building bridges of understanding. There's a quiet hopefulness in the air, a sense that change, however incremental, is underway. Younger generations, more exposed to global influences, are questioning the status quo, demanding a more inclusive and equitable society. The seeds of change have been sown, and with time, patience, and a commitment to open hearts and minds, a more harmonious future where everyone feels a sense of belonging awaits. Section 2. Beyond the Rising Sun: A Shared Journey. As we stand at the crossroads of tradition and change, the lessons learned from Japan's journey resonate far beyond its shores. The challenges of navigating race, identity, and belonging in a globalized world are not unique to any one nation. They are shared experiences, woven into the fabric of our collective human story. From Tokyo to London, New York, and Rio, the world wrestles with preserving unique cultures while embracing diversity. How do we create societies where everyone feels a sense of belonging? And how do we move forward together towards a future where our shared humanity binds us closer than any difference?